Someone used the word helper to put me in charge of a crew of men at midnight. Not because I was gifted for it, because he did not want to deal with it. I worked until 6 a.m., got my kids to school with no sleep at 7, laid down, and he sent me back to the phone. I did all that because I thought that was what helper meant. It was not. And if that word has ever been used to make you smaller than God made you, stay right here. Because what God actually called you in Genesis will change everything. Hey there, I'm Theresa Croft, and you're listening to the Stuck No More Voices podcast on Apple and on YouTube. So I am the founder of the Stuck No More executive cohort and lead strategist and platform mentor for Christian women leaders whose voice deserves a bigger stage. Last Monday, I dropped an episode just a few days ago on the E of the E.V.O.I.C.E method that we teach in the cohort. We started talking about establishing your identity as the foundation for everything you are building. But friend, I've been sitting here with something ever since that episode. Something I could not leave on the table. Something that kept rising in my spirit. There is more. They need the overflow. So today I'm bringing you the overflow, the marrow, the part of the E pillar that goes so deep, I need a whole second episode just to get you there. This is not a correction of last week. This is the room inside the door I already opened. And to get there, I have to tell you a story. My story. And it's not an easy one to tell. But I believe it is the one God has been preparing me to tell for a very long time. There was a season in my marriage when the word helper became one of the most painful words in the vocabulary, not because of what it meant, but because of what it was being made to mean. My husband had a commercial construction business, and he had a problem. There was a construction manager on this particular job he could not get along with. And my husband told me he was afraid he'd punch him out in anger. Instead of taking responsibility for his own emotions, he used it as an excuse. He did not want to deal with the man. So he made me the overseer instead. Not as a gift, not as an honor, as a solution to his problem. I was not his helpmate in that moment. I was his substitute. The job started at midnight. Took an hour to get there. Midnight. And I was responsible for a crew of men in a grocery store through the night until 6 in the morning. I would get home at 7 just in time to get my children ready for school, running on nothing, running on fumes and sheer will. And when I finally laid down, he would barge into the room, make me get on the phone with the construction manager, handle something, solve something, be something. There was no rest. There was no space. There was no one that would ask me if I was okay. There was only the expectation that I would show up wherever he pointed me because I was the helper. But even in those early morning hours, walking through the grocery aisles, watching the crew work, exhausted beyond what I could explain, there was still something happening inside of me. A quiet knowing that this was building something, that God was watching, that none of this was wasted. I did not know the word Ezer yet, but I was living in its proving ground. Pain is the incubator for creativity. And from your misery, God is producing the destiny of your voice. Because an Ezer does not break under pressure. An Ezer is being prepared by it. So what happened to me was an abuse of a word. I need to name that clearly because I know I'm not the only one who has had the word helper weaponized against her. Some of you listening right now have heard helper used to mean stay quiet and do what you are told. Your needs come last. Your gifts only matter when they serve someone else's agenda. That is not the biblical definition of the word helper. That is control, wearing scripture as a costume. So let me show you what God actually said. In Genesis 2, verse 18, God looked at the man he had made and said, "It is not good for him to be alone." And he made the woman, and he called her Ezer, E-Z-E-R. It's a Hebrew word. And it appears 21 times in the Old Testament. Of those 21 times, 16 of them refer specifically to God himself. God is called the Ezer, not a gentle assistant, a warrior ally, a strong rescuer, a force that shows up when everything else has failed. Point 1. The commentary on Genesis 2:18 says Ezer can be translated as strong rescuer, not helper, not assistant, strong rescuer. From the same commentary, from Dr. Brian Simmons of the Passion Translation, point 2 says a man's wife is his first line of defense on the journey. First line of defense. No background support. No last resort. First line of defense. You were never designed to be the gap filler. You were designed to be the front line. Point number 3. Some ancient Hebrew scholars looked at the pictographic rendering of the word Ezer, the original picture behind the letters. And what they find is the image of a weapon, translated specifically as the revealer of the enemy. Friend, God did not build you to blend in. He built you to reveal, to expose what is hidden, to bring light into darkness. You're not a broom. You're not a notepad. You are a weapon in the hand of God. So when the word helper was used to send me into a midnight building managing a crew that was never my assignment, that was not the Ezer calling being fulfilled. That was the Ezer calling being suppressed. You've been told you are a helper in a way that made you feel smaller. But God called you Ezer in a way that carries his own nature. You were never made to be diminished by that word. You were made to be defined by it. And God was not done because he did not call one woman Ezer. He called a company of them. Psalm 68, verse 11. The Lord gives the word, and the women who proclaim it are a mighty throng. Warring woman warriors, it says in the Passion Translation. In the original Hebrew, that word for proclaim is feminine, and it's plural. An army of women voices commissioned to carry his word with power. Those women in midnight seasons, those women holding it together when no one is watching, those women building something in the dark they cannot fully name yet. They are part of this great company. And so are you. My overnight shift did not disqualify me. It developed me. Because you cannot lead others through darkness you have never walked through yourself. God did not waste 1 hour of that season. He was building the Ezer I would need to become. So let me bring this home. If you've been building your platform from striving, from proving you belong, from performing until someone notices, that exhaustion is not a sign you're not called. It's a sign you've been building from the wrong foundation. The platform is not where you prove who you are. It's where you express who God already said you were. What feels ordinary to you right now is only ordinary until God adds his extra. That is when it becomes the extraordinary solution to someone else's pain point. Your story is not the liability. Your story is the seed. My midnight season produced a method that sets women free. Pain is the incubator for creativity. Your misery is producing the destiny of your voice. Before I release you today, I want you to hear something. Beth Gutkenberger, this is what she said. I want to call out women in their glory, with all the beauty they possess. When you see a woman who isn't striving to be anything other than exactly who she is, a woman who knows her worth, she exudes peace. Let's ask God to teach us what He has already intended, His original purpose for Ezer. That is the prayer I'm praying over you right now. That you would stop striving to be anything other than exactly who God made you. That you know your worth. Know it deep in your heart. That peace becomes your posture. Not because life is easy, because you know who you are. So say this out loud with me right now. Wherever you are, in your car, in your laundry room, in your kitchen, on a walk, put your hand on your heart and say it like you mean it. I am Ezer. I am a strong rescuer. I am the first line of defense. I am the revealer of the enemy. I'm not striving. I am settled. My voice is not just a tool. It is a calling. That season that tried to diminish you was developing you, friend. The word that was used against you is the word God used to define you. And the voice you've been waiting to release has been ready longer than you know. You're not a woman finding her voice. You're an Ezer taking her place. If today stirred something in you and you're ready to go deeper, the Stuck No More Voices executive cohort is open with the CEO voice assessment available. We walk through the E.V.O.I.C.E method together along with 2 other platforms, the Voice Amplifier and the Publish Voice. Link is in the show notes. So maybe share this episode with someone who needs it, because the great company is still gathering. I will see you next time. I'm Theresa Croft of the Stuck No More Voices podcast. Until then, go take your place.